Let's talk about why Linux rising decreases productivity.
Why Linux rising?
Rising, the way I rise my Linux after installing all these things and keep installing Linux again and again, and that decreases my productivity in programming.
Okay, so you mean to say like distro hopping?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, distro hopping. No, I would say it's okay to switch from time to time. Uh, yeah, but if you're doing it on the main machine that you work on every day, it's a bad experience, because. But
Yeah.
I know some people, they somehow keep a backup of the home folder, and they somehow keep the folder in a separate drive or
Yeah,
someplace,
that's dot
and
files.
yeah, just map them.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. But like when you
Mm.
write something new now, then you have to dig in and research your own and then do all this stuff. So in the very beginning, or like when you try to research something new and then implement it in your machine and write it, it takes a lot of time. For example, let's just say like when you try a new distro, it literally takes you 1 day, and then when you try to write it, it also takes like 1.5 day, and then for example if you love to like just switch it now, then only even if you have your own dot files, still it will be sometimes like that. Okay, I still have the dot files, but even to make that work I still need to do some work, and that goes on, and this is how like productivity decreases. So that's another fact. So
Correct. That I agree with. So okay, let's come down to the very basics. Like, why would somebody switch their distro?
there are so many reasons. For example, if I talk about myself now, there are like as a like full-time Linux user, I have this thing in my mind that okay, I'm never going to be satisfied with one like distro at all. See, sometimes I love Arch, sometimes I hate Arch the most, and then sometimes okay, let's just switch to a new variant of Gen 2 and then see how this kernel works and that. So these kind of things like always round up in my mind, and like चलो ठीक है करते हैं ये चीज़ वो करते try. So these things happen in my mind as a Linux enthusiast. I want to try new things, and even if I try it on my secondary machine still you'll find okay, to even just try and install it, it takes a lot of time, like 1 or 2 days. And
Correct.
if you're like doing it on a weekly basis or even a monthly basis, still you'll be like having wasted more than 40 hours on it.
That is true. Like, for example, I think you asked me to install Gen 2 some
Yes, I
a lot
did.
of days back. I tried doing it. Like, it took almost 2 days, and even then I did not, I think, had properly configured the window manager something. Like, it's cool. Like, it's better to have new and new UI, but like, I think the primary reason somebody would want to switch a distro is just for the enthusiastic basis, because you can have the latest kernel updates on any like OS that you are running, any Linux based OS that you are running on. It's always better to have a backup of the working files that you are working with. Not like you were saying the dot files. That is a good thing. Like, the dot files are a representative of the Vim
Distro.
configurations,
Yeah,
of those of the, like, what do you say, the
distros.
bash rc, those files, right? But for example, if you have a working setup, for example, if you are developing an application and you're using your desktop or your PC everywhere, like day to day, and you want to try out this new latest distro that have come, like it could be Catfish OS, which I did not like, but so like it could be anything, like.
Yeah.
And in such cases, I have seen that there is a way to keep the directories that you are working with, the home folder, and you just create, like, let's say I am sandipndev, so /home/sandipndev would be mounted to a specific point in a hard disk, and in that way you can use the latest OS that you are working on, but you
At the
will
same time
still
also
have,
access that
correct,
old
the
files.
the project files. But that the main problem in such a case also is that you would again have to go ahead and install all the things. And for example, you would have to Google sign in, you have to
there are so
set
many
up.
things like,
Exactly.
and even if you try to automate that thing, like there will be so many, at least one thing that you still need to do it manually, right? And also one thing that's like a learning curve. For example, let's just say when you are like maturing yourself with Linux now, then you always want to try new things in a deeper level. For example, if you are new, you'd probably be comfortable with GNOME, right? And like a Fedora and all that, and BSDs obviously. But then when you try new things and you go deeper, then you're like, okay, no, now I like Arch Linux, Gen 2 and all that stuff, right? And maybe you're someone who also like want to just do LFS. It's like Linux from scratch. So you just want to build the kernel and then do it everything from scratch. So when these scenarios comes now, then there's a one thing like learning curve, right? And the learning curve is very steep, and even if you install and write it, still there will be something as learning curve that you'll have to learn and do, and there like most of your time goes. For example, like we both have our 9 to 5, right? So after 9 to 5 we have our pet projects and all that. So if I cut those times, then we barely have anything time left, because we have families, we have to do our own research and all that. So that gets a hefty amount of time. So either if you want to like rise it and do all these things, still you have to make sacrifice either from your like job timing or in your pet projects timing. So this is where this decrease wala part comes into the picture. Like if you try something new or do something with your like Linux, then obviously your productivity with programming going to be decreases.
Right.
Yeah.
And another reason I think we both have faced recently is that Linux is not good for some things. For example, video editing. It's not that good. There are programs, but there are hacky fixes on those programs. So like we can go ahead and talk about how to fix them, but the energy that would be required to fix them would just vanish just like that when we switch to a different distro.
Exactly.
And we would not be comfortable. So I think it's always better to have two sets of machines. One machine you do all these kind of experiments with, or you use it like for all your pet projects, and the other one should be a working condition of your otherwise, like let's say today night you are trying to go ahead and install a new Kali Linux or something like that, and tomorrow morning you think, oh my god, where are my projects? Literally it's going to be a nightmare, and then your boss calls up and tell, hey, what are you working on? And you say, sir, I'm setting up my Linux machine. He would just fire you.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about the Linux, your video editings to be specific, it's doable, but obviously it requires a lot of time. For example, there's a recent scenario with me that happened with me, that like I wanted to not use Kdenlive because obviously Kdenlive is still not mature, and the things that I prefer to do in either Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve, many of them are not supported in Kdenlive, and also the lack of GPU rendering in Kdenlive makes it not using for myself. So the other day when I tried to install DaVinci Resolve, it took me almost like 3 months to set it properly. Legit 3 months, because there are so many issues from audio level to video level, from those to codec level. Like even if you have your video ready, still you will be facing errors like you have codec errors, you have audio errors, then all that stuff, right? So it becomes a kind of hectic tension in your mind that okay, I need to fix this, and then and even if you fix, one update comes into your machine and then wow, everything is like gone for a moment. So that's
then what do you suggest? So let's say there is a newbie who has come to the Linux environment. Let's say he has started with a Ubuntu machine, and they're trying out Arch for the first time, and they are kind of in love, and then they want to switch from, let's say, Manjaro to a Gen 2 or something else, or probably a Arch Linux, the normal one. So like obviously he would face a lot of problems and challenges when because he would have his machine set up in one OS. So like I can imagine that there would be a number of files apart from keeping backup. How would you suggest, like how should somebody switch from one Arch distro to another Arch distro, or even to a Ubuntu machine?
See, when someone just like starts with fresh Linux or as a beginner level, right? There will be a steep curve of learning. Okay, so in that period, obviously, it will consume a lot of time, no doubt on that. But when that person, starts learning and then growing and maturing with his Linux, right? Then a situation will come where he will or that person will be having a sense of humor that okay, I know this particular thing, I know this particular thing, and then that person should be familiar with bash script. And then when you understand about bash scripts, you'll pretty much be ready to go with any Linux, because bash and C language is the fundamental of Linux, right? So in that scenario, my suggestion will be that as you go, try to document it, and as you document it, try to make automation as much as you can possibly do, right? Make your own dot files, make your home dot files, make your own neovim files, make your own vim files, make your own custom setup file, make your own theme files, and all that files, and just put it on GitHub directly. Just put it on GitHub and just forget about it. So what will happen when you have all these things? Then you can make a script from very early stage, from just installing that OS and then setting it properly, because in Linux you can literally automate everything, literally everything you can automate on that. So when you have all these things, then also you'll start to develop your own setup to taste like how you like to set up your theme and all that. For example, if you like directly tiling window manager, then you'll probably be going with a DWM, or you'll be probably going with BSPWM and all that other stuff. So collect those, set up your own RC files. So those RC files will make you very easy to set up all these things, and then it will be something like after 2 to 3 years, then after learning having all these things, it will be something like okay, I need to install a new Linux, I want to try that, and if that Linux comes under Arch or Gen 2 or similar kind of variants, then obviously you have those compatibility and options that you can directly pull those up and then install it, and within one day you can just go ahead, do it, right?
Yeah, but I can imagine one problem with this, because the script that would be written, let's say it's the script is written for Manjaro, and it has a theme layout and all that. The script would require high maintainability, because otherwise, let's say he or she is switching OS from Manjaro to Arch Linux, the internals are not the same, so the script probably won't work.
Yeah, it depends on like how on which base you're doing it. If it's Arch, then you don't need to worry about that. Yeah. But if it's if you are switching from Arch to Ubuntu, or Ubuntu to Arch, or Ubuntu to Gen 2 or all that, then it might give you a problem. But rather say that you should have your different sets of home folder setups. For example, obviously your Arch home will not be working with GNOME folder, right? So you have to have your different sets of files that will help you to do that. For example, I do have my own vimrc configurations, I do have my dot files, I do have my own BSPWM setup that's coming from Archcraft, right? So all the setups that I have, also the communities that I belong to, right? In those communities I also have those shared, so they also try to maintain it sometimes. So all these things bind up, and then I don't have to worry about that much. It's just like okay, I want to install something, I just need to look into the system, and then because I have this experience and understanding how this is going to work, so it's getting easy for me, right? But if you're not going to be very familiar with all this, then probably you might face so many errors, but over the time it will help you to understand, and you can go with the flow. But obviously at the end of the day, whatever you try to do, if you are a developer or something, then it's better to have your main computer and just be happy with that, and then switch a yearly basis or something. But if you want to distro hopping, obviously do it on a separate machine, and keep in mind it will definitely consume your time. So that's the kind of thing.
But awesome. And I would also want to add over here, so if anybody just wants to have experience and they just want to look into how a different distro works, they should probably use something like a VM or like
Kemu,
Docker.
yeah.
Kemu.
Also, yeah, Kemu is on the runway.
So there is no requirement for a person to go ahead and like install it on their machine itself. because I understand that distro switching comes with a lot of overhead. So if you're wanting to just switch, you can install it just to have the experience of it, and you should experience. For example, I did unfortunately install Catfish OS on the main machine.
No, it was Cute Fish.
Cute Fish OS,
yeah,
yeah,
Cute
Cute
Fish.
Fish OS. And never use Cute Fish. And then that I am saying this from experience, because after installing it, it looks very cute, but after installing it, it's very shitty.
Because the thing is that the architecture underlying
Yeah.
beneath it, it's like, first of all, based on GNOME, you cannot use all these features that comes
Nah,
with
Ubuntu
Arch.
is also based on GNOME. Like,
No, I'm not talking about Ubuntu. The architecture that is based on Qt Fish, right? It's not something suitable for programming or development mode, right? There are so many issues that you faced while trying
Correct,
to
yeah.
set it up according to your development needs,
it's
right?
like
Yeah.
it's like a very nice looking box, but the inside it's like a lace packet.
Yeah, exactly.
there is only here.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bummer.
Correct. So never don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to install, and if somebody wants to just have the experience of it, they should probably use a VM. That would be the best solution for it.
But yeah, if you want to try Ubuntu, then obviously
Ubuntu is a very good
for
first
beginners.
for-
For
yeah.
beginners, but
Somebody
you'll also
who
you'll also
Windows
agree with
or
this
Mac.
that like after using Ubuntu for 1 year or such, right? You switch to Arch, right? Because you know how it helped you to.
The only thing I think that I love about Arch is the EA command. That is a super nice thing to have.
Yeah, but depends.
but I used to use Snap, but it caused a lot of problems. And apart from that, Snap store is pretty small. EA is because it's community driven. It has a
Not
lot
only
of
that, EA supports everything
repositories.
that comes under like Arch.
Yeah, there are 3 repositories, right? Community, core, and org.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that sums it up. Like why?
That's pretty
why-
much sums it up.
Yeah, but you should always try keeping an eye on Linux, because also these days, there are so many bugs are coming up in like Linux latest kernels. For example, last night there was one of the kernel issues that came up that give you root access basically on your Linux kernel. So that's a kind of shitty thing, right? It should not come, because I'm not sure why the developers are doing all these things, but there should be some reason, but it should not come up, right? So also knowing the underlying architecture, how to prevent all this is also a good thing. So if you're into Linux now, don't just sit on it, like try to explore all the sides on it and then have a proper keeping eye, right? So that's I'd like to say. Also one thing, like we are starting this podcast, okay, so and we'll be regular. Yes, we will be.
LOL. LOL.
No,
Let's
we will
see.
be. It's
No
serious. Yeah.
No commitments. Let's see.
But it's serious that we'll be doing all this podcast and all that. So we are planning to, because we will do it basically in related to this like programming and Linux and all these technical things, right? So if you're into that, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Let us know how was it. This was our first podcast, and over to you, Sandipan.
I don't know if we would be regular. We will find out. If you are watching this, like, today is 15th of March 2022. If you are watching it later on, go ahead into our channel, and while you are at it, do subscribe, because we want to make such videos. Let's find it. You will be the person who would find out if we are regular or not. If you see this later than 15th March, then we hope that if we are regular, go ahead and comment if you are regular. Yeah. Alright, so that's it. That pretty much sums it up. Do subscribe and think next time if you want to switch to a new distro, if you want to install it on a VM, or do you want to actually explore Linux?
Yeah, that's it.
Bye.